Hello, Chicago. Welcome back to another episode of Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Oh boy. What can we say about the week that was? The Bears losing in epic fashion. The Cubs get knocked out of the playoffs. The White Sox lose over 100 games. The Blackhawks have one of their top young players blow out a knee. Even in the college ranks, things did not go well. Illinois lost to Purdue. Northwestern got blown out by Penn State. Is there anything to feel good about right now in Chicago sports? Well, we're going to try. We're going to try to find something here over the course of the next 58 minutes or so to find something from this past week to enjoy. We're going to talk about the Bears. We're going to talk about the Cubs, the White Sox. The Bulls had their media day today. Lots to be getting through. Lots to dissect. Buckle it on up. Let's just get headlong into this show, everybody. And hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome on in to the 152nd episode of Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Not a lot of exciting things to talk about today, are there? Oh, the Bears. Just when it looked like finally, the misery would be over. Nope. They have to pull the rug out from under us and figure out yet another new way to keep the losing streak alive. The Cubs. The dreadful month of September came to an end on the Cubs, but not before they officially got eliminated from postseason contention with some of the most amazing, dramatic losses you can stack up in the span of a week. We'll be talking about that. Meanwhile, the White Sox had concluded what was originally, remember, was supposed to be a championship window season by finishing with 101 losses. And even then, they couldn't even lose the last game properly. It had to go to extra innings before it finally concluded yesterday. I have to believe that both the Padres and the White Sox were just, let's get this over with, somebody please. We don't want to be here anymore. The Blackhawks had one of their young skaters blow out a knee over the weekend. It was just a rough week in Chicago sports, but we're going to try and have some fun with it, try to make the most possible sense out of this as we can. And before we go too much further, of course, we do want to acknowledge our sponsor here at the show, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, low in sugar, and is high in protein. This truly is some of the best jerky you can get your hands on. All you have to do is visit planetjerky.net to place your order. They ship all throughout the United States. And I would suggest and recommend the volcanic jalapeno. My wife can personally attend to the classic barbecue being a very tasty option as well. So once again, huge shout out to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. For the last 9.5 years now, IE Sports Radio has brought you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to keep up with the latest in sports and with our shows. Also, check out our daily updated website, iesportsradio.com, for sports news, the IE Sports Radio blog, our Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month, pages dedicated to each podcast, our IE Sports Radio community forum, and stop by the shop and check out the merchandise. Thank you for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. You heard how to follow along with the station there on social media. You can also follow along with this show. This show is available for you on X. Follow along at IESRC, or you can follow along with me personally. I am at Adam_Karnick. And if you are listening live here tonight on Monday night on Spreaker.com, hop on into the chat room. You will find it's a pretty hopping place in there already. Taryn Rodriguez is there. Mikey Two Guns, Mike Pat, and Larry B are all in the chat room already. Hop on in, join them in the fun. There's some things are being have fun at my expense. That's fine. We'll get to that in a second here. Others, but hop on in. We can interact back and forth that way. Or if you are listening later on as a podcast, whether it's on iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or you're listening live and all you want to do is listen. Thank you for being here. I am here to entertain you in whatever suits you best. Thank you for being here tonight on this show. And going back to the promo read for a second there of IE Sports Radio, one of the things there that we point out is interviewing legendary athletes. Our guy Mikey Two Guns does some incredible videos and interviews. Check him out. The host of Our Bleepin' City on Wednesday nights. He does some tremendous interviews, so definitely check him out there. Meanwhile, Mike Pat, it always makes me happy when another city overtakes DC in sports misery, and we get to share in our collective. We get to make a gigantic pile of sports misery on Thursday night because for some godforsaken reason, the NFL decided that last year wasn't enough. They just needed round 2 of Bears Commanders in national prime time. So we'll be able to just create a gigantic nationwide misery fest on Thursday, Mike. I genuinely look forward to doing that with you on Thursday night. And Taryn, yes, you also do some outstanding interview. You've got one lined up during your show tonight, by the way. You've got an outstanding interview lined up. So yes, Taryn does some excellent interviews as well. Be sure to stick around and listen to him on Set Point after we're done here. Yes, yeah, the Thursday night. I'm going to get more to the Thursday night thing later. We have to start with the Bears, of course, tonight. You'd think that in the literal calendar year that it has been since the Bears won a game at home, and very nearly the calendar year since the Bears won a game anywhere, not counting the fake games that they play in August, that we would have encountered just about every possible way to lose at this point. But then they decide that no, we've hit upon a new one here, and we really think you're going to like this one, folks. Get this. We're going to go ahead and put up a 3-touchdown lead in the late third quarter. And remember, we've got a defensive-minded head coach who prides himself on discipline and protecting the football and taking the football away from other teams. and we're gonna hang our hat on being the effort team. We're gonna go ahead and get efforted. That can't be a word, but I'm gonna roll with it. We're gonna be the ones that can't protect the football and flat out refuse to take the ball away from other teams. And we're going to show that a 3-touchdown lead against a winless team that just gave up 10 touchdowns the week before. We're going to be their we're going to be their get right medicine. How do you like them apples? Oy, yug. Oh my gosh. What? I was just floored by that yesterday. You had, for 3 quarters, everything worked. Everything was going right. Justin Fields looked like the guy that should be here for efforted is. Thank you, Mike. Great. Efforted. It just, wow, that does not come off the tongue easily, but apparently it is a word. There's got to be a better one, though. I'll hit my thesaurus during the break. There's got to be a better word than that. Justin looked like the guy again. He looked like what we saw in the second half of last year. And I know that there are people, during the game, they were, it's the Broncos. Oh, they're running a gimmicky offense. Oh, this isn't. Baby steps here, people. Baby steps. You got to crawl before you can walk, You got to have something that at least feels good, even if it's against a bad defense, against a coach that looked like he was literally minutes away from possibly getting fired right there on the field at one point. Vance Joseph, wow. There is no one more fortunate to still be employed today than Vance Joseph is of the Denver Broncos. Had they not completed that comeback, had that defense not had the fourth quarter that it had, I would not have been surprised had Sean Payton just turned to his defensive coordinator and said, "Nah, you can just stay here. You find your own way back. You can charter your own flight or get a cab or something. You're not coming back." Mike, is your 9-month-old beginning the wonderful stages of walking? In which case, for those of you who don't have children, when the baby starts becoming mobile, that's when all sanity leaves the household. We have started to reach that stage with my 6.5-month-old. He's not crawling yet, but he is rolling with amazing proficiency, and so now nothing is safe. Just absolutely nothing is safe. Everything is boarded up in the house. All my daughter's toys are being just shoved into wherever it can because the baby can move. Anyway, that's getting very off track. That's not why you're here. For 3 quarters, the offense looked legitimate. The defense was actually stopping people. And you looked like finally you were going to get a win. A very good buddy of mine is a Broncos fan, and he and I had very casually in the offseason talked about going to the game. We had gone the last time the Broncos came to town. He and I went. That's also incidentally the last time I went to a game. We had talked about. Patty Bax is in the chat. Hello. Patty is usually one of the host of the Buffalo Huddle, and normally she's only able to participate in our private group chat. But great to see you, Patty. Yes. Khalil Mack, he had himself a day. I'm gonna get to him in a minute here too. Yeah, I know defenses are supposed to stop people. It's a crazy concept. I know. I'm not quite certain of it myself. Based on watching the Broncos, based on watching the Bears, based on watching just football in general for the last 15 years, I'm beginning to question whether or not defenses are actually supposed to stop anybody. But you actually had competency from the Bears, and then it all disappeared. And just that it disappeared against that team. The Broncos are just as bad off as the Bears in a lot of ways. That defense is woof. Oh boy. You had a lot of people just running around wide open. You had ample opportunities to, this was as much an opportunity as a get right game for you guys, and it was for 3 quarters. But unfortunately, the game is 4 quarters. Darn that math. It was so gut-wrenching that the Bears could so completely collapse in the span of roughly, I think it was 16 minutes. Certainly no more than 20 minutes of football time, where they went from the top of the mountain all the way to the bottom just that quickly. I know a lot of people are furious with Eberflus about the 4th and 1 call late in the game. And I get it. I understand both sides of it, honestly. Eberflus has shown in his 21 games here now that he's willing to be aggressive. And while I don't necessarily agree with the aggression in that spot, 4th and 1 from your opponent's 18 in a tie ball game, you know, if a field goal puts you ahead, I can understand the argument. Eberflus did a horrible job after the game of defending why he did what he did. So I'm going to do my darndest to try and defend the decision for him. I don't necessarily agree with the decision. But this is another example to me of why Eberflus, it's time to be done. It's time to be done. He's lost the team in a lot of ways, and he can't even articulate and explain why he's going for something. So here's what I'm going to try. I'm going to try and defend him. I'm going to try and use the logic here. 4th and 1, your opponent's 18. There's 3 minutes to go in the game. Anymore, football has become a game of whoever has the ball last wins. I want to win the game with my guys, my offense being on the field. Yes, we're in field goal range. Yes, it's a tie game. But we're a professional football team. We can get a yard when we need to get a yard. We've got a play that we can run that we know we can get a yard right now. And then that forces them to burn their timeouts. We milk the clock. And worst case, we're still in field goal range. Even if all we do is get another 3 or 4 yards and take a minute and a half off the clock. We've taken a minute and a half off the clock. We've made them burn their timeouts, and they still have to march down the field. But now, rather than having a little under 3 minutes to do it, they only have a little under a minute to do it. That's the argument to make for going for it on 4th and 1. Instead, he hides behind we thought it was the right decision to make in that spot. And, well, why'd you run that play? Well, we've got a bunch of plays that we can run in that spot. Okay, fine. But why'd you pick that one? Why did you pick take the ball out of the best offensive player you have hands and give it to the running back and go straight into the teeth of the defense and don't block anybody? Why did you run the don't block anybody play? I could ask that question for a lot of plays. The fumble, scoop, and score too. Why do you have the don't block any play in your playbook, Luke Getsy? Get rid of the don't block anybody play, first of all. They mentioned it on the broadcast yesterday. They referred to it as, I think it was Tiki Barber it was either Tiki Barber or Matt Ryan referred to it as the lookout block, where the offensive lineman fails to block anybody and just turns over his shoulder and goes, "Look out!" to his quarterback. I saw at least a half dozen lookout blocks yesterday from Borum, from Wright, from Herbert. Too many guys threw lookout blocks. And that is a huge problem. Fields made the most of it as best he could, but that scoop and score was a result of a lookout block. That's not to absolve Fields completely from blame, but the troubles in the fourth quarter were not all on him. But Eberflus, fine. You wanted to go for it, fine. But why run a play? Larry Borum is Mike Pat asking, who's the left tackle right now? It's Larry Borum, who he's been a backup for the last couple of years, another 5th round pick from a relatively small school. He's served as the swing tackle to start the season, but now with Braxton Jones hurt, he's been serving at left tackle and doing as best he can, but problems. It's still a problem area. But if you're going to go for it there, I want the ball in Justin's hands. You want to work out of the shotgun? Fine. You want to work from under center? Fine. You go to Justin and you say, Justin, you're going to be carrying the ball. What play do you want to run? What do you feel most comfortable? Your mission is to get a yard. But coach, you've told me you don't want me to run. To hell with what we've told you before. We need a yard right now. You're our guy. Okay, here's the play I want to run. Great. Then that's what we're going to do. That's what we feel most comfortable with. As opposed to, well, we've got a bunch of plays we could run in that situation. Okay, fine, but you picked one that sucked. You picked one that did not work. You picked one that failed. And all right, they went with the read option play, which would make sense. So Fields had the opportunity to keep it, but he read the read correctly that the defensive end was keying on Fields. He was not crashing hard on Herbert, so Fields had to give it up. Okay, fine. So he played it correctly, but I don't even want it to be an option at that point. I want it to be Justin. Run QB power, run QB sneak. Justin, you're getting it. And you're getting us that yard. Go get us that yard. We're not giving it to Herbert. We sure as heck are not going to run the snap it to Cole Kmet play that they ran again. Burn that play. I don't ever want to see that play ever again. There is no reason under the sun why a tight end should be taking a snap from under center. Just none. None whatsoever. Burn that play. Get rid of it. But then you also... So Eberflus, just have... If you're wrong, you're wrong. Okay, you were wrong. Own it. Don't try to Don't try to have it both ways. And for the record, I am out on Eberflus and the staff. I understand that he's probably going to coach out the rest of the season because that's what the Bears do. And there's an argument to be made that who the heck else on that staff would you promote in this case? I don't care. He's the wrong guy. He's shown you enough at this point. 3 wins in 21 games is enough to show you he's not the guy. Especially when you've got a 21-point lead in the third quarter and you're a defensive coach and you can't figure out how to protect it. I know the entire secondary was out. Eddie Jackson was out. Jalen Johnson was out. Kyler Gordon was out. Kyler Gordon's backup, Josh Blackwell, was out. I understand that. You know who wasn't out, though? Well, see, Mike, that's the other problem is the defensive coordinator is not qualified. The defensive coordinator is unemployed because apparently he was playing hooky in the office or something, and he resigned a couple weeks ago. So now Matt Eberflus is the de facto defensive coordinator because he has said he's not going to hire another one midseason. He's just going to take over that job. So ask him, there's no longer a defensive coordinator on the team. But you know who isn't hurt and what is healthy? Your front 6. Your defensive line and your linebackers. And you're getting nothing. I know that Edmonds and Edwards are getting 1.5 million tackles. And that's all well and good and serves a purpose. But they're also being targeted, literally, by quarterbacks. Quarterbacks are having the time of their life throwing at the Bears linebackers. They're getting whatever they want, whenever they want. And it's because there's no pass rush. None. Patty brought up Khalil Mack in the chat. He had 6 sacks yesterday. 6. That would not only would that place him on first place in on the Bears currently in that one game. That one game he would have 6 times as many sacks as anybody else on the team. He had 3 times as many sacks yesterday as the entire Bears team has had all season. The Bears pass rush is non-existent. And they did actually get one yesterday. The other thing that they've done nothing of, they have not taken the ball away at all. They have 2 interceptions on the season. Those are both against Blaine Gabbert. The Bears through 4 games. The Bears have yet to cause a takeaway against the starting quarterback. How is that acceptable for a professional defense with a defensive-minded head coach? It's just, yeah. Now we're going to see what they are, really, on the other side. They've got a short week. I mentioned it, Mike Pat, host of Let's Whine About DMV Sports on Friday. He will get to do the after show, if you will, for the game Thursday night as the Bears go into D.C. and take on the Commanders, apparently because the league is a glutton for punishment, I suppose. Yes, sir, I'll have another. May I have another? A short week in the NFL, it's that baseball thinking of, hey, there's another game tomorrow. You've got the opportunity to put it out of mind, put it out of sight, and move on. We'll see if they can do that. I mean, reports after the game, Justin Fields was devastated by that game yesterday. He sat in his locker in full uniform for a half hour, just sitting there with a stare of what just happened. I had the greatest game of my professional career. We were clearly the superior team today on the field, and it still didn't matter. We still lost. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens Thursday night now. It can be a, hey, you got to push past that one and get right to this one, or it could very easily, and this is what I fear is going to happen, one loss is easily going to snowball into two because they're going to step out of that field and still just be shell-shocked that how did we lose that game Sunday? Never mind that it's now Thursday. So we'll see what happens as a result of it. Unfortunately, that was not the only painful sports thing that happened in Chicago last week. We have other just such fun things that we have to get through. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. When we come back, what happened to the Cubs? We will discuss that plus other things right here on IE Sports Radio. Do not go anywhere.
Hello, sports fans. It's me, your boy Larry B, and I want to walk you through the world of sports. No, not just the mainstream major TV deal type sports, although those are important too. But let me be your guide through your journey of all sports, from college to the pros, the minors, and everything in between. Each week, we are talking sports galore with true diehards just like you from a hardcore fan's perspective that's sure to quench your thirst around leagues you may know all too well and some you may even discover here. That's right, sports fans. If you love sports of all kinds, enjoy hearing amazing sports stories, and respect all sports because you know how difficult any of them can be to play or compete in, then this is your show. Join me, your boy Larry B, on the defining moment each week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, and let the sports come to you.
From Russell's return to great division rivalries to young quarterback battles, what better way to wind down the first day of the new work week than with USRN's Monday Night Football? Season premieres September 12th on USRN.
What up, Boston sports fans? This is Mikey Two Guns here, your host of Our Bleepin' City, airing every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Please join me. We'll talk everything Boston sports, all the local teams, college teams. I'm even down to talk MMA, boxing, whatever you guys want. So join me every Wednesday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Chime in with your questions on the chat, tweet the show. We'll even have call-ins. I can't wait to hear from you guys. This is going to be a lot of fun. So once again, it's Our Bleepin' City. I am your host, Mikey Two Guns, every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. See you soon, people.
Hey sports fans, are you in the market for Florida sports or just keeping up with the latest in the Panhandle? Palm Tree Sports is a dedicated audio hub to all things sports in the Sunshine State. We cover current events, big news, heavily favored opinions all across the NFL, NBA, MLB, and so much more. So come check us out every Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a down south education on Florida sports and athletics. It's hosted by yours truly, Corey Pujols, and is powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Real quick before we turn the page over from the Bears onto other things, got to address something Pat just put in the chat about, I'm sure a lot of people, it's been making these social media rounds of the Bears are the only major American sports franchise to not win a game since Elon Musk bought Twitter and then promptly rebranded it X. Makes me think of Jack Nicholson's Joker every time I say that. Sorry, that's a really old pop culture reference. I have seen that, Mike, and honestly, my first thought was that can't be right because the Bears, yes, it was October of 2022, but the Bears' last win was so late in the month. Surely they had to have snuck it in. No, I just looked it up. The Bears' last won on October 24th, 2022. Elon Musk bought Twitter October 27th, 2022. Occasionally the internet gets some things right. One other last fact. One guy, another fact that Eberflus, another thing in the cap of Eberflus has got to go. The whole Chase Claypool situation, real fast here. Chase Claypool, of course, last week on Friday before the game, when asked if he felt the coaching staff wasn't using him, he was asked, is the coaching staff using you correctly? He thought for 7 seconds and then said, no. He then, lo and behold, find out Sunday morning, oh, look, Chase Claypool's inactive. Hey, look, Chase Claypool's not even at the stadium. Hey, coach, what's going on with Chase Claypool? Will he be there Thursday? Oh, yeah, this was just a one-time thing. We decided that we weren't going to go with him for this game. Yeah, okay, sure. It's all just a coincidence, sure. The Bears then had to have a PR guy go around and tell reporters that, oh, no. We told him don't come to the stadium. Coach was wrong. We told him don't come to the stadium. You're really not going to be part of this team. The Bears are actively shopping Claypool to try to get him off the team. What a joke. Just a circus going on up in Lake Forest right now. But unfortunately, the Bears weren't the only ones who had a rough week. In fact, the Bears might not have even had the worst week of them all. The Cubs last week. When we spoke on the air last week, we knew that it was going to be tough, that the Cubs needed a lot of things to break their way. Well, nothing broke their way. The Cubs ultimately got swept by the Braves and then dropped 2 out of 3 to the Brewers. But by the time they took the field yesterday afternoon, they knew they'd been eliminated. That the Cubs did win Saturday night, but unfortunately so did the Marlins. So that officially eliminated the Cubs from postseason potential. And they got swept by the Braves, but they could have so easily taken 2 of those 3. They had the extra innings loss on Wednesday night where they had the lead, only to see it get tied, then to see Acuna. The Cubs took the lead in the top of the 10th, only to see Acuna tie it, and then the next pitch later, Acuna scores, and it's game over. And then, of course, last Tuesday was the one that kind of broke me of, okay, this thing is done and over. Last Tuesday, where Cubs had a 6-0 lead going into the 7th. The Braves come storming back. They get 3 in the 7th, 3 more in the 8th, and the last 2 that they got, where Seiya Suzuki, Gold Glove caliber right fielder, who had been carrying the team on his back offensively for the last month, high fly ball into right center field. Suzuki gets under it, no problem, is tracking it all the way, and just missed catching it. That, to me, and 2 runs score, and the Braves now suddenly they're up by a run in the bottom of the 8th. You've got to go out there in the top of the 9th, and now is it, hey, you don't, not just you need to score to possibly win, you need to score or else you lose. That, to me, was the moment of, this is over. It's done. How do you come back from that? So, just a heartbreaker of a week for the Cubs. I saw a statistic over the weekend. The Cubs overall in a 22 game stretch in September were 7-15 overall. At one point in there, they went 4-11 at one point in a 15 game stretch in September. They were outscored by all of 3 runs in that stretch. They very easily could have won 6, 7, 8 games. Instead, they come away with just 4. And there's a lot of reasons. The bullpen was depleted with injury. Guys were tired. That's ultimately, I think, what happened with the team overall as a whole. It's just they were tired. It was a great point got brought up that they were playing playoff style, got to win every game, got to win these games, basically from the middle point of June on through the season. You can do that. You can pump yourself up like that only for so long before eventually your body just says, I can't do that anymore. And as anybody knows, when you come off an adrenaline rush like that, the crash can be devastating. And that's really what the Cubs looked like the last month of the season. Was they were on an adrenaline crash where there was nothing left in the tank. They were trying to floor it, and there was just nothing left to go. Mike Pat asks in the chat, even if the Cubs made it, what's the reward? You get in as the 5th or 6th seed. What? You pull off a wild card upset only to be curb stomped by Atlanta or Los Angeles in the division round? I don't see the appeal. There's a 2-part appeal, Mike. One, you're in the playoffs. Anything can happen. Were the Cubs realistically going to go anywhere past the divisional round? No. I had them pegged to be out in the divisional round if they made it that far. I did think they had a good shot in the wild card round. Had they gotten, Milwaukee or Philly, that would have been very interesting to see them in the wild card round. I could have seen them getting out of that, but you're right. They probably wouldn't get out of the divisional round, but it's October. It's playoff baseball. Strange things happen. They use that slogan of you can't script October, and just getting into the playoffs, you never know what can happen. Weird, strange things happen all the time. In all sports, in all professional sports, weird things can happen in the playoffs, especially when your first 2 series are short. The wild card series is all of 3 games, and the divisional series is all of 5 games. You can have bizarre things happen in a short series, and you just don't have time to recover from it. You get knocked down flat on the mat. There's not a whole lot of time to get back up off of the mat, to just be throwing cliched metaphors left, right, center, forward, sideways, everywhere out you here. The other part, and this is definitely more of a Chicago thing at this point, and this is speaking somewhat out of sports desperation. I don't know when in the hell I'm going to see another playoff team in this town. Seriously, when is it going to come? The Bears, they're sure as hell not making it this year. They're 0-4 to start the year. They need to run the table now to hit Adam Rank's predict. They basically need to run the table now to hit Adam Rank's preseason prediction. There's no way they're making the playoffs. The Blackhawks, no. Connor Bedard's an amazing young kid, an amazing young prospect. He's going to be a ton of fun to watch. This team is light years away from competing for something of significance. They're going to be hopefully fun to watch on the Madhouse this year. The Bulls, we'll see. We'll see. They had their media day today. I want to get into them a little bit later on. They had their media day today, folks. But they still haven't figured out what the rest of the NBA has figured out, that the way you score points now is shooting threes. We'll see what's up for them in that regard this year. They've been trying an alternative brand of basketball that can sometimes be entertaining, but it does not consistently result in wins. Lonzo Ball is still not coming back right away anyway. Then the calendar turns back over to baseball again. The White Sox, oh my God, no way. They lost 101 games this season, the White Sox did. They were supposed to be competing for something this year. Instead, they dropped 101 they dropped 101 games in a year where they were supposed to be competitive. It's their first 100-loss season since 2018. And just their second one, I mean, you got to go all the way back to 1970. They've had two of these now in the last 5 years. They hadn't had one of these since 1970. 101 losses, and the 101 is the most since that 1970 White Sox team went 56 and 106. Ugh. Yuck. That's some bad baseball there. They're not going to be making the postseason. And the Cubs, they got some work to do. Yes, there's some positive things too. One nice thing with the Bears being on the Thursday night this week. Yeah, I'm gonna do some post-game Bears stuff. I'll probably save it to social media. And yeah, we'll talk about them a little bit on Monday, but Monday I really would like to take a dive into the Cubs and the White Sox and really talk about what they need, what both sides need to do this offseason to really fix things for going forward. So I want to do more of a proper baseball wrap up next week. The NFL calendar gives us a little bit of time in there with the Bears playing on Thursday this week. That we'll have some time to talk about Cubs and White Sox. But it might be next October before we see one of the four major teams in the postseason again. And the Cubs are the only hope, realistically, between now and then of seeing postseason. I don't have a lot of faith in the Bulls. They've got a lot of work to do, a lot of makeup, catch-up work to do, and I'm still not convinced they've figured out how to consistently win in this day and age of the NBA. There's some signs there that they might be ready to. We'll see there. We'll use this to kind of segue into the Bulls a little bit, because the Bulls did have their media day today. They are getting ready for training camp. They're getting ready to start the 23-24 campaign. And one of the big things as we get ready for that, obviously, yes, of course, is Lonzo Ball coming back? Lonzo Ball did speak today. He says he's moving in the right direction, but he's not there yet. He's not quite ready yet to come back and play. No huge surprise there. Of course, you've got DeMar in a contract year. What is that going to look like for him? And then have the Bulls finally figured out enough to score consistently and keep up with teams in this day and age in the modern NBA. We're also going to be looking at who's going to be playing point guard. But another big story for the Bulls is Patrick Williams is a huge X factor, a huge wild card in this upcoming season. If Patrick Williams can figure out his role and become a consistent wing 3-point shooting forward for you, the Bulls might have something between him and some of the new additions that they might have enough 3-point shooting to kind of keep up. If Javon Carter, Torrey Craig, and Patrick Williams are able to make up for the fact that, hey, you don't have Lonzo being your 3-and-D guy, if they're able to add the 3 at least, we'll see. We'll see what the Bulls can do. But as we get ready to start the season, I'm not huge on them making the playoffs right now. So it could be, that's why it was, oh, come on, Cubs, make the postseason, and we get to see some playoffs, because it could be a year from now before we see any kind of postseason action from anybody in Chicago. The Sky made the playoffs in the WNBA, got swept in 2 games, but they did make it. It could be that long again before we see another Chicago team in the postseason. All right, we are going to do a crazy fast break here, and then we are going to do a little bit of college roundup, because believe it or not, I had to do some digging, but I found at least something that went right for somebody in the Chicago sports world at large this past week. This is Chi-Town Weekly, part of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We will be right back. Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your 5-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
What's up, everybody? This is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And, of course, Set Point with Karen Rodriguez is going to be coming up right after us as we finish up here on Chi-Town Weekly. Adam Karnick with you here for just a couple more minutes. Wanted to quickly get through the college roundup because we did find in the college roundup, we had to do some digging, but we did find some things that actually went right for a couple of teams in Illinois, at least this past week. We start with the big ones, though. In the Big Ten, Illinois did not have a good weekend, losing 44-19 against Purdue. Trailed effectively the entire game there in that one, 44-19. Northwestern, didn't fare any better. It was tight through two quarters at least, 10-10 going into the half, and then Penn State woke up and came to life, ultimately beating Northwestern 41-13 to get the win there. How about Northern Illinois over in the MAC? It did not go well for Northern Illinois either, losing a heartbreaker to Toledo, 35-33. Northern Illinois came storming back late, scored 16 points in the fourth quarter, but it was not enough as the Huskies dropped one to Toledo. Hey, Adam, I thought you said that there was some good news out of all this. Well, there is. We dropped down to the FCS level where we find Southern Illinois. Southern Illinois did get the win over the weekend. Give us something good to cheer about at least. 33-20 over Missouri State. So Southern Illinois got itself a good quality win there. Also, Eastern Illinois beat Northwestern State 19-10. So there were some teams in Illinois, in the Chicago market, that had themselves good weekends. You just had to really go digging for them. That is going to do it for our show tonight. Lots and lots of thank yous to put out. First, of course, thank you to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Check them out, planetjerky.net. Get yourself some jerky. It is very tasty, and the packaging is a ton of fun, too. Thank you to Larry B. for all of your hard work at the station, sir, keeping everything moving and jumping all during the week and over the weekends as well. Thank you to everybody that hung out tonight in the chat. Larry B., Mike Pat, Patty Bax making her IE Sports Radio chat debut, Kathy Karnick, and then, of course, Mikey Two Guns and Taryn Rodriguez. You can hear Taryn coming up right after us. All Things Set Point. He is celebrating his 4-year anniversary tonight with his show, so be sure to stick around and hear that. He's got lined up. He's got an excellent interview lined up tonight on that. It's going to be Coach Katie Thompson, who is the head coach at University of California, Santa Barbara Women's Volleyball. And, that's where she played volleyball. She's currently the CDM Boys Volleyball head coach. So be sure to stick around for that. Thank you for being here and listening, whether it was live here tonight on Monday night or it was later on during the week as a podcast. I appreciate you being here and you listening, taking time out of your sports week to make room for this show. I really do appreciate it. Next week, of course, we will talk about the Bears and Commanders game on Thursday, but I also really want to dive into the seasons that were for both the Cubs and White Sox and try to map out their off seasons for them. See what do they need to do, what do they need to add, what do they need to subtract, where do they need to spend to make next season better. Until next time, I am Adam Karnick for IE Sports Radio. Have a great week, everybody. We will see you next time.